get it started. Let's get it started. What right now? Let's get it started. Let's get it started. Let's get it started. What right now?
Hello, people of now. It is September 17th, 2020. Yes, I got a haircut, and my name is Anthony Moseley. I took a half-inch off my beard. Hello, Dr. Marcus. Are we connected?
Yes, I think I am. This is Marcus Robinson, Collaborations Executive Director. Wow.
And I'm Anthony Moseley, Collaborations Artistic Director. Welcome to Crucial Connections. It's a special show. As some of you know, Collaboration lost a very special family member last week with the passing of Sam Peretta. Sam was and still is, a very special person, artist, collaborator, friend, poet, shaman, easygoing freak, and he gave a fantastic hug. He touched thousands of people in the Chicago theater community, and he led with example with how he cherished life, people, moments, things of all sorts and sizes. And tonight we dedicate this show to Sam and his family, who will always be a part of the Collaboration family. We love you, Sammy, and we cannot wait to have you whispering sweet nothings in our ear for the next few decades at least.
Yeah.
We've also have a GoFundMe to share to help Sam's wife Anya and his boys Pas and Luca through this difficult time so that they can have some support. Please give and share what you can. We'll drop that in the Facebook chat, or just go to GoFundMe and look up for Sammy, Anya, Pas, and Luca. We're trying to raise $50,000. We got about $8,000 to do. It'd be great to close that out by tomorrow night at 5 o'clock. Sam's passing has inspired the first segment of this show, and he's telling me to keep it moving. So, all right, here we go. Welcome to season 2, episode 3 of our 12th episode now of Crucial Connections, Collaborations Weekly, hyper-local, thinking global, online space to dismantle oppression of all forms and lift each other up.
Yes, and our Zoom guests can join us here in the Zoom conference live. Hello, everybody. Please make yourself at home. Phil, I hope this is like talking with you across the dining room table. Just raise your hand or raise your voice to join the conversation. We want you involved in this as much as you feel comfortable doing so. All of us can do that by signing up for a ticket in advance. And there are others who are watching the live stream on Facebook and YouTube and Twitch. And you can also subscribe to our Together network for only $5 a month. That'll keep you engaged, informed, and connected to all of our work, and most importantly, to get you behind the paywall to participate in something like this. So please do that. Looking forward to seeing all of you and hearing your voices tonight.
Oh, I see Carolyn Erdeman in the Zoom room, and Mary Kay Cook and Rachel, and we'll have to bring some folks on later. Hopefully they'll get the courage to turn on the video camera themselves. This program is made possible thanks to the support from our sponsors, AV Chicago, the Mark and Jeannie Malnati Family Foundation, the Joseph and Bessie Feinberg Foundation, and people like you who can make a one-time donation at collaboration.org and sign up to be a monthly contributor.
That's right. And as you know, we've been running this campaign over the last few months. We call it the Transcendence Campaign, that was designed to help us raise the money we needed to ensure that the programs like this and the Light and the Peace Book Festival and all the other things that we're doing this year inside of the pandemic actually happens. And we got this great challenge grant, and you folks really chipped in, each and every one of you, and we've been able to reach our goal, beat our goal. The Transcendence Campaign has raised, drum roll, $108,000, $108.58. Oh my!
Oh, wow!
That touched me right there. I love that. Thank you so so very much for all of you who contributed, to all of our donors who breathed life into Collaboration to help us sustain through this pandemic. And you allow us to continue to thrive and to continue to manifest our mission of social change here in Chicago.
Thank you, everybody, for your support. And you know, we closed out that campaign, so it's time to start a new one because we've got big plans. We're delighted to announce We Still Dream.
We do.
A campaign that it combines our 5th annual Peace Book Festival and the Utopian Ball. We'll be premiering 10 new videos by Chicago artists. Can we go ahead and cue up that beautiful slide of wait till you see how good this looks. We have 10 new videos by Chicago artists split into 2 programs for Peace Book, 5 videos each. Essential Perspectives, which will be exploring community resilience to COVID-19, and that is funded in part by the Illinois Humanities. And that includes artists like Phenom, Willie Round, Mia Park, Sami Isma, and Jasmine Cardenas. And these pieces are right from the heart. And then we also have Visions of Peace, which are 5 powerful transformational visions of one person's peace. And we have Darling Squire, Luzzo, Matthew LaChapelle in the house, Ada Chang, and it's an incredible collection. We can't wait to share with you. Vernon Gooden is the 10th piece.
Yes, these 10 videos will premiere on the Together Network on October 17th. October 17th, write that down. And it'll run throughout the month leading up to the Utopian Ball on November 14th. Write that down. And you're invited to join us. Go to collaboration.org and get the full lineup and tickets to the Utopian Ball as we celebrate the completion of our next fundraising campaign.
That's right. We're going to have Thursday night watch parties. We're going to do a premiere. We're going to have the artists on with us. We're going to be on Zoom and Facebook. So we hope that you will really make space for these 10 powerful pieces. And we got a show to do, Marcus.
Yes, let's do it.
On this week's show, we're going to be exploring 2 topics that are very close to our heart. The first is artists coping with depression and mental illness during the pandemic, with our guest, Dr. Kristina Peterson. And the second half, we will be talking about our country's battle with white supremacy with award-winning filmmaker, Peter Hutchison, talking about his new film, Healing from Hate, Battle for the Soul of a Nation. Julius Long, who's featured in this powerful documentary. I mean, these are 2 really heavyweight, important topics to be covering, and that's what we do here on Crucial Connections.
And so it's my pleasure to welcome to the show my dear friend and colleague, Dr. Kristina Peterson. Dr. Peterson is she's the Assistant Dean of Education at Roosevelt University, which is founded on the principles of social justice and change. And she's responsible for the curriculum for teaching therapists how to develop empathy and to convey these really rich ideas in psychotherapy that helps people grow and change and do the work we need to do in order to be the best we can be. So welcome, Dr. Peterson.
Thank you for having me.
Yes. So we'll just dive right in, and Anthony, you can just certainly chime in when you want. And folks, if you got questions, type them into the chat, if you will, or raise your hand, and we'll bring you up, and we'll chat with you. So
we'll also keep an eye on the Facebook live stream if you're on that as well.
Hey, thanks for that. Yeah, you bet. So, Dr. Peterson, I'm wondering if you could give us some insight as to what you've gleaned from the news and from clients and at school. How do you see folks faring under the weight of the pandemic and the social unrest and some of the other ongoing stressors that we experience today?
Yeah, sure. I think normally we have our difficulties and our things that we go through in life. And just over the course of the last 6 or 7 months, with the pandemic and the pandemic of racial injustice and all of the things that have happened since then, what I have seen is that there's this global experience of collective trauma and collective grief that is not only creating new sorts of mental health issues and stressors for people, but those who already suffered from things like depression and anxiety and those sorts of mental health issues. Those are their issues are exacerbated, right?
Yeah.
And the challenge with isolation and hopelessness and despair and just being so completely overwhelmed with everything that's going on. You turn on the news and it's another thing and another thing, and then not knowing what's going to happen and when it's going to end. It's just it's chronic now, and so it's this chronic collective trauma and collective sense of loss, for sure.
Yeah. Thanks for that. I'll just share from my standpoint. Just I came into the pandemic and this new season of awareness around white supremacy and the pressures of racism in our society, already with some bumps and bruises and twists and turns in my life, right? So going into the kind of the lockdown, for me, being a very extroverted style person and being, just kind of focused on one other individual in the world for, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100 days in a row, that was hard on me. And, I found myself out of sorts, and still in some ways out of sorts today. I wonder to what extent does isolation really bring out the kind of the cracks in the armor, as it were? What are you seeing about that?
So human beings are hardwired, like physiologically hardwired for connection. We regenerate our spirits, our minds, those sorts of things by connecting with other people. We're social beings. And so the isolation, having to either quarantine yourself or self shelter in place, those sorts of things, or not go and do the things that you've done before, or connect with the friends and family members that you connected with before, really has taken its toll on people. And we have to find video's nice, but there's nothing that beats a human touch, or that, like you were talking earlier, Anthony, about that, the hugs and those sorts of things. Those actually fuel us and help us to feel good and feel better. So that's part of it, that isolation. And then, on the flip side of that too, in terms of mental health, if you're isolated with people, or a person you're in a difficult situation or a difficult relationship with, those things are also magnified. So domestic violence is increased, addiction, those sorts of issues, all of those things. We've just seen a huge increase in those sorts of things.
Yeah. I noticed folks in the artist community, taking this pretty hard in many ways, because there is no shooting of films or getting on stage or going to rehearsals and doing all this stuff that requires us to be intimately involved in other people's spaces, right. Which is the antithesis of socially distant. That physical distance makes it super hard. And so even when we're doing work in a kind of in this transdisciplinary role that we have now, where we got people doing work at home on their own, piping it in over the internet, I've noticed folks, that what would normally be a pinch of an interaction between people has the impact of a crunch. If you kind of hear the difference in the size of impact between a slight little pinch and a crunching ache that just will not go unnoticed. And I'm wondering if you're seeing that in other spaces, or people reporting that, or does that make sense to you that folks would be sensitive to this environment?
I think that we kind of talk about, responding to a crisis, so the pandemic and everything that happened after that, and all of the other traumatic things that have happened in the world. We talk about those, or responding to those, as a one-time thing, right? So we can react in a certain way, and then we get better, and then things we're able to reconnect, and we're able to kind of get back to normal. This has all gone on for a really, really long time. And so when you say we can handle a pinch, but when it's, and maybe I would look at it as a squeeze, like it's a continued, it's just continued for really, really long. And we haven't had a chance to really come up and take a breath, or reset that good vibe, if you would.
Yeah.
And the goal line it continues for artists. It's just, especially theater artists, it's just been continued to be pushed back. We think we're maybe 3 months away, and we're just 3.5 months away, and then it's been ongoing. Dr. Peterson, sorry, I'm just going to jump right into a question that's on my mind. Like, so, you've heard we've had a tragic loss in our community. So the most generous, sweet, charismatic, giving person. This person created a piece of theater called The Gift, based on Lewis Hyde's book. I mean, he was the best gifter. What should we be looking out for in our peers? What should we be paying attention to make sure, if we see the signs that somebody is struggling, that we do something? And then what should we do? And what if we see those signs in the mirror, and you're talking about us personally?
Yeah. So this might sound really simple and kind of cliche, and the fact that we're talking about crucial connections here is really kind of key, but connecting with your peers and connecting with those people. And if you know that they're struggling, generally when somebody gets into a real deep depression, or they're heading that way, they withdraw and they kind of back off, and they don't connect with their people anymore, and don't necessarily talk about what's going on with anybody. And same thing with you. You don't want to be a burden to your friends, or you don't want to talk about things you don't want to bring everybody else down to where you're feeling, those sorts of things. But I think just even that ability to connect and have a conversation and talk with people who are in your same situation, right? So in the artist community, if it's on a video and you have a video jam session, or those sorts of things, those ways that you do. But even that, I have found that I probably send way more text messages in the morning about, I'm thinking about you. I wish you a good day, but if you need anything, please call me, text me, those sorts of things. And with family and friends, especially, because we need those crucial connections in order to survive. And I would say also that, don't forget, though lots of therapists and mental health professionals are not seeing people in the office, many have converted to teletherapy and are doing sessions and working with people in their mental health issues all the time. And so they're available. They're out there.
Yeah, I noticed for me in this scenario is that oftentimes, especially with my artist friends that I've lost along the way, they have a way of presenting themselves in the world that conceals the what's really going on inside. And though they may withdraw, well, they're just focusing on, They just focus on their family, like if I call you for a gig, you say no. Got something to do with my kids. You don't phone them for doing stuff with their kid. You okay, cool, but that happens a few times before you know it, you're disconnected. And every time we talk, it feels the same, and then something happens. There's a guilt, that I have associated with that. Like, I should have known better. Even being a professional myself with mental health credentials, it's like I tell myself I should have known. And it becomes another one of those traumas that I have experienced. But one of the things I have been doing that I can reflect on this maybe is I've been checking in with all my friends and artists, but also been doing a thing I've been calling micro affections. I'm willing to be the sappy, touchy feely one in all my bunches now. You may giggle at me as I send some smooches or say something cool to this other colleague of mine, but you like it, and you wish I was saying it to you, kind of thing. That's how I've been surviving myself, and it feels like the more I give those little touches, the little texts, the little emails, the better.
Are you doing smooch emojis to your boys?
Well, I
haven't got none. I ain't got no. I got nothing, man.
Oh man, we be sharing love face to face on Zoom 3 or 4 times a day, man. I thought that was it. Here you go.
A little smooch emoji won't get a long way.
Nah, brother. Come on, brother.
I think though you're right, Marcus, about that. Personally too, this is one thing that I've learned through all of this is that, you have to say what you need to say and don't hold back with the I love yous and I'm thinking of you and I miss you or I really want to talk to you or those sorts of things. Like your authentic message or now's the time that we need to not be afraid to show people how we feel about each other and be able to connect in that way. So I agree.
This is a great time to invite anybody from our Zoom room to join us. If you have a question, you can either put the question in the chat or you can say in the chat, I will come on video and ask a question. And then the team will bring you on. In the meantime, Dr. It sounds like what you're saying is the people that you love the most that you haven't heard from, you should call them up and tell them you love them. And if you are the person that everybody hasn't heard from, then people should call you, or maybe you should just take the initiative and say, you know what, I'm going to make a call and I'm going to tell somebody that I could use a little support right now.
Yeah.
As organizations and even as families, I think one of the things that that I've seen a lot of and started to do is creating those spaces that are just social spaces. So a Zoom, my family and I do Zoom happy hours. Probably, I shouldn't even say this, but probably once a week. Yeah, once a week.
That's okay. Once a week is fine. If it's one day.
Yeah, take out the probably, but everybody gets their glass of wine or their drink and we sit and we chat and catch up and really connect. And we've connected and then we invite people who we really miss and who we want to spend time with. And that helps to kind of get through those times. You look forward to that connection at that time too.
Yeah, speaking of family, I want to turn the conversation a little bit so that we could kind of tilt towards the next conversation. You and your family were directly connected in some way, as observers and involved in the city of Minneapolis as it went through its traumatic stress over the last 6 months, and it has impact, right? These are different kind of stressors. The thing happened right in your neighborhood, kind of thing. And I remember seeing photographs of you taking trips through the various different the tributes that were left out for folks. Can you give us some insight as to how you sense the folks in Minneapolis are feeling right now, and how we collectively might be internalizing the pain of the source of the uprising?
Yeah, so my experience is my son and his brand new wife, he just got married, live in North Minneapolis. And my son is, as a Black man, was deeply affected by the murder of George Floyd, and actually withdrew from me and was very really only spoke to his brother for a while, a couple weeks, because it was that was the person that shared his experience. So they knew how each other felt and could really kind of talk through that and process their own feelings and emotions. And a couple weeks after it happened, I just actually, well, it's my son. So I went to Minneapolis and I was like, I got to make sure that you're okay. I need to check on you, those sorts of things. And we did go down together to the memorial site where George Floyd was killed. And when I tell you the experience of that um, shared that shared grief experience, and everybody was grieving together, and yet it seemed like a protected space, safe space to do that. And I guess it has ignited my commitment to fight for racial justice and educate myself and others on race issues and white privilege and social change and advocacy and all those sorts of things. And so I think that internalizing that grief and those feelings, and one of the ways that to kind of help with that or handle that is to tell your story and to be able to share your story and to be active in some sort of helping others to make that.
Yeah, that really fits in terms of folks who are like really open to letting you into their lives, and I really appreciate what you shared about your family and what you folks are going through and having you know having that experience. And so I'm connecting that now to when folks withdraw from us and we just can't seem to, they don't respond to us, kind of thing. Like maybe if you had went to Minneapolis and your son decided that, he just didn't want to see anybody. I had a situation in my life like that where I wouldn't see anybody for like 3 or 4 weeks. It's like I was, going through a thing. And I know the folks wanted to reach out to me and connect with me, but I just didn't let them in. So I'm wondering, as we look towards the closing out this part of our conversation, if we had a word that you could say to that would help us kind of figure out what steps we can take. And thanks to Heather Dalmage for such a great question in our chat. What can we do to help stubborn old me?
For someone who's isolated themselves?
Yeah, who's resisting, a little bit.
Yeah. I guess, kind of in conversations I've had with my sons, both of them, since all of this has happened and since we've kind of reconnected. One is there's somebody out there that they can connect with, and it might not be you, and don't take that personally. But like, just make sure, don't stop reaching out. Don't stop reaching out, and don't stop saying that, because even if the person isn't responding to you, hopefully they're hearing your message, and rally other people around them too. Gosh, that's a tough one, because we take that personally and we take responsibility for taking care of each other.
Yeah. As you say that, I'm reminded of what I used to hear when I used to fly. Was put my own mask on first, do my own little self-care, so that I, can be responsive to others. And even when they're not responsive to me, to still take care of myself and to, still feel good about, taking those extra steps. So, yeah, race, oppression, white supremacy, the COVID thing going on. These are traumas we're all experiencing all at once, all at the same time. And we notice that they're falling on different groups of people differently, right? Some people are, apparently have more resiliency factors supporting them than others, and we're disproportionately impacted. And I wonder if you're seeing a correlation between the ways in which COVID is piling up impact on people of color, and how mental health problems promulgate in a particular way. Is there more of an impact there than the population? And what are you seeing about that? And what can you tell us about that? And what could we be doing about that as people who care?
It's the same sort of things that, I think the COVID pandemic has just shined a spotlight on the disparities in healthcare, in mental health care, in community services, in resources, in education, in all of the disparities and racial inequities are just exacerbated, and now people are seeing them. And so definitely my first and foremost thing that I'm going to tell you is vote, 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 vote. Definitely vote. We need to make some major changes. There's lots of good organizations doing advocacy and those sorts of things first for the structural and then systemic changes. But connections, again, it's take care of each other. We need to take care of each other and really, make sure that even those small things like, bringing a neighbor some food, or helping, calling your artist friends and saying, is there anything that you need? I personally have, I have a friend who's an artist, who's an actor, who's out of work. And so the economic crisis has taken a toll. And I hired him to do some client scenario videos for my class so that he can, those sorts of things. But just think of those things and really lean into each other, lean into this connecting piece, I think.
Yeah. Thanks for that. Looks like Laura Fraudenberg in our audience has a question. She goes, got any advice on when someone still will not speak with the therapist? I got family members like that, and they probably thought I was one like that at some point. Well, he won't go. Someone you're not. So her question is about, is there what to do with someone who still won't talk with a therapist, someone you're not really in close proximity with, but they're clearly showing the red flags of deep depression over a period of years, but and then the pandemic is worse. What can I do?
Yeah, so unfortunately, we can't force anybody unless they're showing signs of suicidality or those sorts of things. You can't force anybody to seek help from a therapist or a counselor. And it generally doesn't work if you do. But things like taking care of them or helping them take care of themselves in terms of lifestyle. Are they getting enough sleep? Are they eating right? Are they do they get exercise? Those sorts of things? So that mind, body, spirit piece, and then making sure that there's that space where they can, if that's always open. I'll pay for a therapist. I'll help you with finding a therapist. And maybe it's about finding a therapist that's a good fit. Somebody who's not going to necessarily diagnose them with a problem, but just somebody to talk through things with. And everybody in the whole world at this point, I think, needs a therapist. The collective, the global collective, it's really critical.
Yeah, we're all a little bent and twisted. I'm okay with that. I probably could use another year or two on the couch myself, but that's another story. I'm thinking that so as we make art, and particularly like even the art that's going to be revealed in this next 10 pieces that we got coming up. These are folks who these are first person narratives. These are stories about, really, meaningful stuff. I mean, they really put their hearts and soul into it. So as theater makers and producers, what can you say to folks like Anthony and myself to, have us be a little bit more game on, taking good care of the folks that make art with us?
So I'm a narrative therapist, so it's about stories for me. What's the story? What's the story behind it? And what kind of what's the meaning behind what the story is? What are they trying to tell you? And what are they trying to tell the world? There's hidden things in their in things as well. So, pay attention and help,
Okay.
get that story out. Sometimes that is therapy in and of itself. Writing music, or
Yeah.
spending time, sitting by the lake, or those sorts of things. That creativity, drawing, anything that you can do to be able to share your story with the world, and then have it mean something to somebody else, is significant.
Yeah. Well, thanks for that. I needed that. I will definitely do those things, and I'll keep throwing those micro affections out there, and staying connected. And I'll also stay connected to you. Thank you so very much for spending time with us tonight. And if you folks look for a great education with a social justice underpinning, there's no greater place to do that than Roosevelt University, and you'll be in the great hands of my friend, the Dean of Education over there. So thank you very much for joining us tonight, Kristina.
Thank you as well.
Thank you.
Yes, take that breath. Woosah. Take that breath.
All right, moving on. For our second segment tonight, we're going to explore the state of white supremacy and hate and a path forward. The dilemma of being a white man in 2020 with filmmaker Peter Hutchison and Julius Long, who was featured in his film. Let's take a look at this trailer for this powerful, new, and important film, Healing from Hate. I don't think we saw the trailer, or it was shorter than I had remembered.
Coming soon to a screen near you. Here we go.
I hear it, but I don't see it. We may be having technical difficulties. I'm not sure.
See if we can give her one more try. Otherwise, we'll keep moving forward.
There we go.
All right. How's that for a preview? Okay.
That was fantastic.
Yes. Look at that. Look at that there, baby.
It went so well in rehearsal. What happened, gentlemen?
Oh, man,
Hey, we're just in front
live
of the
thing.
camera. Look at that beard. Wow, Peter.
I trimmed it, man. I guess we haven't seen one another face to face in a while, apparently.
Yeah, apparently so. But it's looking good though. If you're on
Hello,
that wild
Julius.
man
It's
side.
a little gray, but you know, you got that on me, I have to say. You're full on gray, man.
Oh man, it would be even worse if I put up my hair on top too, man. I swear. That's all right though. It's all good, man. You look
Julius,
good.
how you doing, man?
Oh, I'm living in abundance. It's another day in paradise. How you guys doing?
All right, man. It's nice to see you again.
Likewise, likewise.
So, I wonder what happened to the trailer. I'd love to just get it played because we're recording this and we're going to post the video after the fact.
You're gonna have to
My technical.
You're gonna have to go back and fix it in the mix, man.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, we could roll it right now. People won't know the difference.
I assure you, the trailer was longer than that.
Yeah, sure.
Parker and Sarah, if you can fire up the. Oh, here it comes. This is like MST. All right, here we go.
There we go. See, it's Sarah, man. Yeah, that's
our country. Look at me, I'm on the edge of the vanguard to save the white race.
Guns, ammo, steel-toed Doc Martens, tattooing. Violence was just prerequisite to enter or exit.
Life After Hate was founded by ex-neo-Nazi white supremacists, and they knew that they wanted to help other guys get out.
I can't tell you how many hundreds of people, while they're in the movement, are too afraid to leave.
What really changed me was receiving compassion from the people that I least deserved it from, when I least deserved it.
You've got to find a way to find an affirmation in every discussion, no matter how bad it feels that it's going. It takes guts to do that. This is why the intervention can't rely on my charisma.
We are like the anti-venom to hate, you know what I mean? Because we had that venom in us and we know how to spew it and we know how to also make it an anti-venom.
You should have been so badly broken that there's no way you could come back from this. If you did, so can he.
Right.
Someone in that life who may not be aware that there's a way out, what would you say to them, man?
Let go all the hate, man. That hate ruins you.
You humanized him, which allowed him to humanize you. Like that's not rocket science, but yeah, it's evading the majority of the country right now.
It's a lot of change that you're getting thrown at you right now, you know?
Yeah, a lot. You guys have been lifelines.
And that's why I think
irreplaceable, you know?
We are operating as human beings from one of two places, fear or love. And we get to choose which one that is.
We're here at Crucial Connections with filmmaker Peter Hutchison and Julius Long from the new film Healing from Hate. Wow, what a powerful trailer. What a special time in history of the United States of America to be taking on this subject. Peter, as a white man making this film, talk to us about how this all started. And then let's hear about Julius's introduction to the film.
Well, before I start, I know you lost a dear friend recently, which and I felt, and I know that you talked about this a lot in the top half of the show. I just want to extend my love and my thoughts, to everybody in collaboration. I know you've lost a real crucial friend and member of your community. And I wanted to note that we're dedicating the film to a gentleman named Thomas Engelman, he's in the preview. Bigger white gentleman, heavy set, tattoos. Just 2 weeks ago, he took his own life as well. And I think it's something that so many people are struggling with, in terms of dealing with the pandemic and all the, you know, the trials and tribulations that we're seeing and the stresses, but I think it also underscores what's a really important theme and point of the film itself, which is these guys enter the doorway into hate group membership for a lot of these guys comes from having experienced a lot of personal trauma, struggling with different kinds of mental health issues. And oftentimes it's really, it's this search for a sense of belonging and identity and meaning in their lives that really draws them to these groups. And those same dynamics make it really difficult and really tricky when these guys leave these groups, because they're raw and they need to completely reset their lives and find that sense of identity, belonging, and meaning that they were looking for from the group to begin with. And it in most cases, it's not the ideology that drives these people into hate group membership. And I think it's a really important piece of this. And it's, and I think, you know, I've listened to Julius talk about how he found these parallels between his friends who found themselves in, you know, in gangs and so quickly was able to understand that the process of getting recruited into a hate group it's really not all that much different than what he saw so many of his friends deal with, getting recruited and pulled into gangs like the Crips and the Bloods. And it's a systemic thing. And it really, I got into this film not to make a film about race. I was interested in making a film about masculinity. And what's one of the things that's been fascinating to me that's come out of this whole experience is how there's a universal masculine psychological need for that belonging and that meaning. And it happens pretty universally at a certain juncture in a young man's life between the ages of 13 and 15. And that's when gang membership happens. That's when hate group recruitment happens. You know, that's when all kinds of shit, like you get pulled into all kinds of scenarios that may not be the healthiest for your personal growth.
Got it.
Thank you for sharing that. You know, and it's interesting because as men, we need to be really vulnerable to each other and supportive of each other right now more than ever. And it's an important muscle to practice. I don't know if you heard about Marcus's microaffections. He's
I heard him talking about microaffections.
Has he sent you any emoji smooches? Because I have not gotten any.
No, I haven't gotten any, man. Smoochies, but I don't send smoochies, man.
Julius, how are you? Welcome to the show. Tell us a little bit about your spectacular story that really grabbed the country and our attention, and how that brought you into this powerful new film.
Well, first I would just like to say I'm just fortunate to be a part of this project, the film, and I guess a step forward to changing one day at a time, one person at a time. As we all know, we had Richard Spencer that was coming to Gainesville doing a rally at the University of Florida. And I wanted to actually sit down with Richard or anybody I could speak with and reference on understanding the way, why did they think maybe that way? And really just to talk to some people to build some dialect, to try to get to know one another. Because I feel that in our life, we suffer and we perish. In Bible tells we perish for a lack of knowledge. And sometimes that comes from just not knowing who we are as a people and not communicating. And even in this pandemic time, we see now how important connection and how important communicating and dealing with one another is to, society. So what I saw that day out there with Randy was reverse racism. Honestly, I saw a guy who was out at a rally where everyone was voicing their opinions on how they felt and which they were entitled to. And the same people that was, preaching, anti-hate and love and, everybody coming together were some of the same people that I saw lash out against Randy, saying negative, derogatory things against Randy. And he was there with a calm look on his face. And I do a lot of things with my granddad, and he kind of lived through that time. He's 88 years old, so I take him to the doctors and stuff. And we just used to talk a lot about, what he went through and what they stood for and, the progression and involvement that they've had and what we've had as Black culture and society in American society. And basically what I just saw was reverse racism. And I wanted to speak with them. And we ended up pretty much getting escorted out the building. And through this, well, not the building, but the park that we were at. And through this experience, I was actually experiencing Black privilege. And it felt a little uncomfortable at the time just because I did not look at Randy as not being Black. I just looked at him going through a situation that I similarly go through with dealing with police and how they treat you due to.
Julius, tell everybody a little more about Randy if they haven't.
Oh, Randy.
Or they haven't seen the news pieces.
Randy, I met Randy at the rally. Randy is a friend of mine, I can honestly say that, who was a part of the Aryan Brotherhood. And I guess during this time, he was in a transition, I would say. And we made a connection and an unlikely friendship that kind of made him look differently upon maybe his outlook and perspective on what he may perceive from a Black man. And also it made me understand his thought process more on the Aryan Brotherhood, the nation, and just made me understand it more. So Randy and I, we met at this rally, both of us getting kicked out. And through all of that, we formed a relationship. I mean, they were going to send Randy back through the crowd to try to go find his car. And I'm from Gainesville, he's way out of state. So, there was no way that was going to work for him, especially in the situation that he was just in. And Randy and I was like, hey, Jay, you take me your car, man, let's talk. So we're walking down the street, man, and we're just talking first just about things we have in common, just human things. And when we started to, speak more on perspective, I think we were able to listen with an open ear from each other because of the dialogue and that we had built with each other. And just in that little bit of time. And sometimes they say situations put people in certain places and it makes us come together as one. And maybe that's what makes this country special as well, because in a time of turmoil, we would have never thought that, two people could come together to actually engage and build dialogue from there. And we went to the store. I picked Randy up. Randy was thirsty, went to the store, he went inside and got an energy drink, got me one as well. And, we just sat back, we talked for a while, took him to his truck. And after that, we took a picture together, just got his phone number. And I invited him out later on to go eat, different things of that nature to kind of get more into the culture. And once Randy, I took him to get some soul food. I took him to, drink like how we drank. He got a part of the culture and he just appreciated it. And nobody looked at him different. Nobody treated him different. Everybody treated him with love and respect. And, of course, I'm, fortunate that I'm well respected in my community. So they just embraced him, and it was just an act of just being human, love, just showing love to anyone, no matter what their thoughts are, their opinions are, because, that picture right there, man, that's my guy.
That's the picture right there, yeah.
Yes.
So for those of you that didn't quite get what he was talking about now, do you think Randy had any real connection with other Black men before?
Well, I think he probably have had connections. Maybe connections is one thing, but understanding, I think, is something different. Because from that picture right there, we were two men that had to understand what we were going through in a situation to and it built the bond, and I think that's what made everything special. Randy, of course he's encountered Black people, different people of ethnicity, but I think what made it special was just the situation, and also just the dialogue and how we express love for one another, how we treated one another. It wasn't a color barrier. Love doesn't have a color. It's an internal feeling. So it's spiritual. Love is everywhere. So we have to spread love no matter what the face looks like or what the person looks like. Love comes from anyone.
Peter, from making this film and the time and the conversations that you've cultivated and a huge commitment you've made to exploring healing from hate, what insights can you give us about the state of the white man today? Where are we? What is the opportunity? What is the challenge that guys like you and I that carry around a decent amount of privilege need to be really thinking about in this moment in history?
Well, that's the question everybody's asking right now, isn't it? That's the big question. And I have to say, what I learned most from making this film is the lessons I learned from these gentlemen who all took a part in founding Life After Hate. Guys who all were members of hate groups at different points in time, but found their way out. And then for people who don't know who Life After Hate is or what they do, it's a group of ex-hate group members that now help people exit hate groups. They provide support, they provide outreach to communities that have been impacted by different kinds of hate crimes, intolerance, and they have a very special way of working. Their emphasis is on compassion. And there's three things that that I heard time and time again, which were keys to healing, and that's compassion, curiosity, and courage. And I really try and hold on to those ideas. Always keeping compassion in mind, regardless of who you're speaking with. Always being curious, genuinely curious about the other individual, despite whatever, I think Julius, in a way, really just, he epitomizes this spirit in, he had a genuine curiosity when it came to Randy. He really wanted to know who this dude was. Why did he think the way he did? What made him tick? And I think white men, white people need to have that genuine kind of curiosity right now. They need to ask questions to understand other people's experience who aren't like them. A genuine curiosity. And I think that's where understanding and connection comes from. People know when you're genuinely curious and you're just asking a question to be nice. And I think having that really authentic curiosity, it can change everything. I mean, that's what's key to, any truly human interaction. And that's what people pay to go to a therapist for, you know? I mean, we all need that. And the other piece is courage. You know, you've got to have the courage to step out of your comfort zone. You have to have the courage to take chances. You have to have the courage to fail. And I found that those three fundamental principles really go a long way in terms of kind of just developing some kind of lens to to think about things differently right now.
And how about our friends at Life After Hate? They just secured a $750,000 grant.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's a really fascinating story because, you know, I for those who are in the know and have any context for this group of individuals, I mean, they were granted a similar grant back prior to the Trump administration walking into the White House. The Obama administration had granted them, I believe it was a $400,000 or $500,000 grant. And these guys had worked for years. You know, this wasn't their livelihood. I mean, they had created this organization just out of their own, you know, sweat and string and Scotch tape, and they all had other jobs, but you know, this was the thing that they really felt strongly about and worked hard to make happen. And when Trump came into office and took the focus of all DHS violent extremism, took it all off of any focus in terms of domestic terrorism and decided to place it all on international and primarily Muslim and Arab, you know, terrorism, it pulled the rug right out from under these guys. And it sent a very clear message, among many others, I think, what the Trump administration's focus was. You know, where their policies were headed.
We have to give a shout out to our dear friend, brother, board of director here at Collaboration, Sammy Rangel, the executive director of Life After Hate, who I know is featured in the film as well and is really a walking, living, breathing metaphor for transformation and hope. If you don't know about Sammy's story, he's got an amazing TED Talk you can watch. And Peter and I were there. We were there, Peter.
That's right.
When Forrest Whitaker gave Sammy a global medal of hope, there was kings and queens and dignitaries, and then Peter and I and Queen Sandra herself. And Sammy's a special, special man, and got to give him a lot of credit for the organizational growth and development that he has been pushing at Life After Hate. I'm so happy to hear that they've gotten this large grant.
Yeah, that goes without saying. And Sammy, you know, he features quite prominently in the film. He has one of the most remarkable stories I've ever heard in my life. He really does.
He's been on the show. If you go to our archives and look up the Sammy Rangel show, be ready to cry. He's a teddy bear of power, and his story is incredible. If you are in our Zoom room or on the Facebook stream or YouTube stream and you have a question for Julius or Peter, or want to add something to the conversation, please let us know. If you're in the Zoom room, you want to come on camera, we dare you. Marcus, you must have a few interesting things to say, questions asked. You've been around this subject of systemic racism for quite a while, and you're a fellow Floridian. You and Julius got some orange grapefruit juice to share together.
Got some gator and some snake.
Oh man, I'm a rattler now.
Yeah, I'm saying some gators and those snakes, they'll do it.
Yes, sir.
So a couple of things. This is a bit of a pivot. I just want to check in with you, Jay. Akashic.
Studios. Akashic Studios, yes.
Yeah, Akashic.
Yes.
Akashic Studios.
The
That's
one mind.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You pull that one deep out of the black, kind of thing, if I can put it that way. So how does that worldview inform your curiosity and compassion for one like, oh boy,
one like mine? Well, it's all about harmony and frequency. I'm a vibrational guy. Vibes, good vibes.
That's explain that sound current, baby. Come on.
And I'm an entertainer, so I deal with a lot with music, and basically what I learned, especially dealing with people and energies, is energy is transferable. So you can transfer good energy to anywhere. And once somebody knows who you are as a person, energy-wise, because I was always taught to be a light and be a vessel, to be able to open up. And if we were able to have people to open up their minds, open up the way that we think, open up the way that our perspectives, the way that we look at things, we could then more become harmonious on where we could go in life. We can be more as one because we can understand each other's perspective, backgrounds, which help mold people, and I think that's what it's all about, being on one accord. So the Akashic mind, to be on one development, and in music, we all have the same dreams, we all have the same goals. We might come from different places, but we're going towards something. Even in the way that we live in life, from politics to what we want as a people, culture, communities, we all have a way of thinking and what we want. And if we're on one accord, we can move as one, so that's just kind of, how it ties in, with the energy, the mindset, and just how we do things.
So I'm so glad you answered that question that way, because it allows me to make a point not at the level of group identity, not your identity or my identity, but our group identity as Black men. Like that ethos that you just spoke is kind of like source code on deep, soulful, aware Blackness, right? And so I'm saying to Peter and to Anthony, as brothers who live in the world as white men, that as to a group thing, not to you individually, but to you as a group, when the white man group gives up the privilege of oppressing or keeping other groups structurally or systemically down, what you get is a partner like that out of it, to create a world that wasn't gonna happen anyhow, given the pace we're on now. But if we gave it up, like say, I'm just gonna be with whatever world we can create where your light can shine as brightly as any other light, and so can mine, and we are in this together to create more light. If you could do what the United States has done since 1619 with a broken system like the one we got, just imagine what we would create together, group to group. Can you hear that communication? I invite everyone into that dance.
Yeah, I think that's a fantastic analogy.
Go ahead, Peter.
No, I was just going to say, I think that's a fantastic analogy.
And for me, what white men need to embrace is the concept that helping other people, sharing your privilege and helping other people with less privilege find opportunities for growth and love, it's not going to hurt you. it's not a net zero sum game. I mean, white men have a lot to gain by helping people that have been historically oppressed. Our children have a lot to gain. Our neighborhoods have a lot to gain. Our schools have a lot to gain. Our cities have a lot to gain. Our country, in the body, when a group of cells hoards resources, we call that cancer. And white men need to stop hoarding resources. It'll help the whole body, and the body will be stronger, and we will get all kinds of wonderful karmic returns and direct pocketbook health based benefits. Peter, am I off my rocker?
You are, but not on this point.
That was a trick question, and you passed. So you get another invite back.
One of the things that, just to bring this all back around, I think, which is valuable, is in the film you clearly see these men's journeys, and what you discover on a personal level is that no individual is irredeemable. I mean, these guys have done some of the most just, it boggles my mind that these men who I now consider my friends could have perpetrated the kind of heinous acts that they did over the course of their lives. But there's this very important lesson, I think, that no individual is irredeemable. And if you look at then you take that to a systemic level, there's no reason for us to believe that any system is irredeemable, that any nation is irredeemable, that any culture is irredeemable. And I think that's a very, very important lesson to take away, that this is all within our power to change, understanding, some fundamental tenets, like all power strives to preserve the structures that support it. That's kind of a universal physical truth. So it takes some enlightenment. It takes some work. It takes pushing some people out of their assumptions, or even their lack of willingness to say push back against things. But I do think that there's a very, very valuable lesson that no nation or system is irredeemable. It's up to us to lean into and impact, to effect.
Wow. You
I agree.
That word, Jay, if I could just spit this out, I'll get out of your way. I'm gonna get 2 spits.
What do you think?
Redemption. That word redemption, to redeem, to deem it again, right? To take the highest energies and bring it into the experience and wrap that all around with love, make a big D out of that, right? That redemption, to redeem, is to bring back from that which was lost, to grant value to that which has been deprived of its value, to grant being. When my group as a group grants being to your group as a group, then we can be with each other. The being with allows us to be more than the sum of adding us together. Can you hear that? That something else becomes available in the redemptive process. And no individual, group, or global sin is irredeemable. That's kind of like the framework of the whole makeup, of the thing. So I just pull that out to say, you understand the word redemption. Redemption speaks truth, reconciliation, and healing. And that's like a pointing away. Jay. I'm sorry I took 10 spits.
Oh man, you all right. You all right. You're right. Redemption is something big. One thing I look at a word in America that we need. America actually kind of needs more of a therapy session, to kind of sit down with each other and have lunch with different dialogues. And I think the word that I look at is ability. And ability means so much. And it spews off to so many different things. See, we have ability in America. We have the ability to be the greatest country in America, which in the world, which we are. We have the ability to actually bring this country together from being segregated to desegregated. We have the ability to stand as one. When the country falls, we come together as one. We have the ability. So with ability, sometimes there's certain words that may have to come in before that. It may be responsibility, because in America, we have a responsibility to be a country as one, a country that stands for what's right, the home of the freedom. And this is what we're here for. So if we're in America, we have accountability to be able to say, we have to be accountable for our actions, the things that we've done, whether it's in the past, and we can say, okay, some things may have been done in the past that were right then and affected people now. Let's get past that and see what we can do to understand where people are as a culture, as a community, mentally, their mental state, their financial state, their emotional state, because we just can't try to understand one side of a person. Even in therapy, I think we deal with more than one side of an individual. You don't have to know the emotional side. You have to know, the physical side. You have to know the mental side. You have to know the spiritual side of where people are. And you have to be able to identify that and mold that and see, okay, these people are hurting in what areas, or these people need healing here, because that's all it is. We just have to fill those voids and those gaps with love and with healing. And I think that comes from understanding, comes from communicating. And we have the ability to do that here in America. And we just need to take the step forward to sit down with each other and have a coffee with people who think to a Richard Spencer, to a Louis Farrakhan, to different people, because everybody has their own way of thinking, which is not a wrong thing, but how can we coexist with each other? What do we stand for together? And I think that's what we have the ability in America to do, to say, hey, it's okay that you're different. You feel some way that you feel. You like your favorite team. You like your favorite school. It's normal, but what can we do to make this place better, to coexist with each other? Because we have the ability to do that. That's what love brings. That's what it opens the door for.
Julius, I think that's right. And I think, again, this story that you tell of meeting Randy, I think it really underscores this idea of the importance of compassion and curiosity and courage that I was talking about before. Because, Anthony asked you this question: do you think Randy, had a lot of experience with people of other color? And Randy and his family are from Idaho. Idaho is not known for its diversity. What Idaho is known for is being a hotbed of white supremacy and right-wing white nationalism. And these two things do not operate independently of one another. When I'm a firm believer that when we don't interact with people who are different from us, we will continue to see them as other. Mm-hmm. And the longer we go without interacting with them, the more we may start to see them as other. And I think, Julius, what you're talking about, sit down, having lunch, having coffee with someone who's different from you, getting to know them, being genuinely curious about them, like that's a really big piece of this. And it sounds very simple, but I think it's a fundamental part of this.
I agree. One thing I can say, I think, is more leadership. We have to take action in America. That's the ability to move forward, to say, okay, these are the things that need to go forward. So how do we go about them? And going about them literally is just taking the time and the ability to move forward. Just like with the situation with Randy, I saw opportunity, I saw something different, and I wanted to know more. I was really curious because I want to understand, and understanding Randy, and as we spoke earlier about his interactions, and even understanding more about the brotherhood. It wasn't really even an African American thing with him. You know, they, like you say, in Idaho, there wasn't a lot of blacks, more Mexicans. You know, so the whole black, he just really his interactions with blacks weren't as in depth. And I think that's what America needs to understand, because I think we interact with all people. We don't know who someone may be under their shell or out of their clothes,
right? But we don't. But we don't interact with them the way that you interacted with Randy. That's the difference.
That's true. But on the documentary, it was also another guy that worked for the Jewish guy.
Mm-hmm.
And
That's
he
right.
worked for him, and
Frankie,
Frankie, he went from 3 days to 6 months.
Yep.
And it may have took 60 minutes with Randy in a different light, but it took him 6 months to take off his boots.
That's right.
You know,
this is Frankie Mink, by the way, also a member of Life After Hate, one of the founding members, and he's the guy upon whom the film American History X is loosely based.
And
wow.
that was profound to me when I saw it, and it took him 6 months. So no one has a time limit, and we never know what moment may define that. So we have to just take it from there and just do our part as humans and be a vessel to where we can just strive, because we also never know who's looking.
Yeah.
You know, it might not even be for Randy or for me in that situation. And I wasn't looking at what the impact it would have, you know, afterwards. I was just looking at a guy, and I saw reverse racism, and he was standing for something. And I wanted to speak with him to understand why he stood for that and see what is it that we have in common? What is it that we differ about? How is it that we can make a change? What are 3 things that we can agree on that we do like?
Well,
You
Julius,
know, these are the things.
Reverse racism doesn't exist, but we'll save that for another show. Because racism is systemic, so one person can't hold racism against another. But it was so great to have you guys, that's just my opinion, on the show, joining us. Peter, thank you for making these important, smart, artistic, and social justice minded films. Peter's with Big Ten Productions. They have a whole slew of really great films, and it's really important that we rally and support around media companies that are willing to make smart, high quality content around really important issues. How can people support this film, learn more about what's happening at Big Tent? Maybe you know, a lot of people watch this episode after we film it. So if they find this, what should they know? How can they support the work that you're making?
Right now, I think the most important thing is, you know, find us on Facebook, find us on our website. Go to Healing from Hate Film on Facebook. Go to Healing from Hate Film on a website. Our film is in the middle of a nationwide virtual screening tour this fall of 2020, straight through the election season and beyond. We're working on coordinating a big Chicago screening, and we're hoping that's going to happen sometime in mid-October. And as we roll out across the country, the film will be available in different cities, different regions at different times. So, you know, check in on our Facebook page. There will be updates for where those screenings are and where you can catch the film. And then we will release digitally worldwide. January 1st will be available on all digital platforms. But for now, through the fall, the only way to catch the film is through one of these sort of exclusive virtual screenings.
Let's all make sure to do that. Thank you both so much for joining us. Julius, hope to see you up in here in Chicago one of these days. We got a great town to show you around when you're up here. And Peter, are you filming from your son's bedroom? Is that what that is?
Did Sarah tell you that?
No, I stayed there. I stayed in your house.
Oh, that's right. That's right. You know this room. Yes.
Yeah.
That's
my
right.
Daughter,
your daughter's staying. Yeah.
It's my daughter's 13th. It's Stella's 13th birthday today. She just turned 13.
That's today. Oh, you gotta
birthday.
tell her happy birthday. We kept up the story that she drew on that whiteboard for like 2 years. It was so awesome.
Nice. Well,
I did everything I could to try and block this out so you couldn't tell it was an 11-year-old's bedroom. But
yeah. I waited till the end. Thank you so much. Keep up the great work, guys. And you always got a home here at Clever Action. I look forward to the next chapter of our ongoing epic novel.
Likewise. And Julius, thank you so much for hopping on such short notice. I just thought that, you would be such an asset to this conversation.
Yeah, he is, yeah.
And I'm really glad you joined. It's so good to see you again. And I'm sure we're going to be doing more of this throughout the fall.
Likewise, I appreciate you guys for having me. And like I said, I also will take you guys up on coming up to Chicago. I live on the road. I'm an entertainer. So I'm always on tour and moving around.
Well, you come on up here and we'll show you how it go over here.
I gotta warn you, Julius. I gotta warn you, Julius. This man plays a mean guitar. He's doesn't talk about it much, but he can shred. He can burn it up, man.
Yeah, talk about ability. He's got a capability on that guitar.
So that's a great way to wrap that up, because the compassion, the courage, the communication was that other C?
Compassion, curiosity, and courage.
Curiosity, yeah, with ability. Okay, those abilities, all of those things got wrapped up in that word. I love that. Thank you for that, Jay Long. And the redemption of ourselves, of our group, of our belonging to each other. You redeem our city of Chicago, redeem our nation. For all the stuff we did and didn't do, all the stuff that we hurt ourselves over, and continue to hurt ourselves over. That it's possible. Peter, you're right, man. Nothing's irredeemable if we want it. We can do it. So that's our 12th episode, man. Wow, look at that. Woo.
Wow. Thank you both. We'll be back on the third Thursday of every month. So we hope to see you on October 15th, where we'll be doing a preview of We Still Dream and our Peace Book Festival, which will be premiering on October 17th. Go to cleveraction.org, sign up to be a part of that premiere on October 17th.
Yeah, and thanks again to our sponsors. And if you want to see more of our programming, please consider a donation of any amount at cleveraction.org, or become a monthly contributor for as little as $5 a month. And we'd love to get a whole bunch of those. So join us if you will, and become a part of the tribe.
That's our show. Thank you for joining us on Crucial Connections, where we are hyper local, thinking global. And if you think of someone that might need your support right now, or somebody that you haven't heard from, reach out and give them a call, connect with them. That's what this show is really all about, those crucial connections. As our friend and collaborator, Sir Taylor, would say, even if the worst thing possible, the worst thing you could imagine happened to you, it's still the best day ever if you're still alive. So while we have this gift, let's make sure we share it and connect with each other, share the love, pick each other up. And, if someone doesn't answer the call, figure out a way to show up in their life and let them know that you care. We care about you. We're grateful for our guest tonight, Dr. Kristina Peterson, Julius Long, Peter Hutchison. We have a bunch of great friends like Carolyn Herdeman, David Cherry, Rachel, Laura, Mary Kay, Stephen, Jim, who joined us in the Zoom room tonight. Everybody on Facebook, we see you. We love you. We'll see you next time. We are crucially connected. Don't you forget it.
Good night.
Peace.